Okay, so this is the syllabus explainer for research methods fall 2018. Okay, so under instructor, that's me. I do have a physical office hour on campus if you guys are near the campus and are interested in dropping in. Same day on Tuesdays, just from 4 to 6 p.m. in the physical office. But I do have a specific office hour just for you via Zoom, which there's a link on Titanium right by the syllabus information. There's a link to Zoom office hours, and there's an FAQ on just how to use it. All you have to do is download the Zoom software once, and you're good to go. But it's pretty easy peasy. It's a nice way to actually, I don't know, look at me in the face or, realize I'm an actual human person that's teaching the class. Even though it's all online, you can kind of lose sight of the fact that there's like a human person you can ask questions of, and that's me. So feel free to do that. The link is up there, and like I said, there's information as to how to do it on there as well. But if you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email's here, but I do have a specific way I ask for students to email me, so I'll get to that in a minute. All right, so for the class, the 2 required textbooks. The first is The Process of Social Research, first edition, so can't really get an older edition of that one as much. Though, if you can get used copies or rent one, that can make it a little bit cheaper. And then the other one is Give Methods a Chance. That one's only about 20 bucks from the society pages. It's a little reader. It's just kind of additional information that makes the class more interesting, I'd say, than just kind of looking at the textbook, which provides a lot more explanation of the specific research methods and how they work. But Give Methods a Chance is going to give you some actual applicable ways that those research methods have been used and what kind of data can be used, can be collected from those research methods. As well as the book, Give Methods a Chance, I have put online as part of your reading schedule, and we'll get to that in a minute. A podcast that goes hand in hand with Give Methods a Chance. Actually, it was a podcast before it was a book. So, of course, I've put the corresponding podcasts for each chapter already on the Titanium page. So all you have to do is click on it, listen to them. They're not very long, but they will give you a little bit more insight and depth into some of the stuff we're talking about. Some real concrete examples, which I think just makes it much more interesting and much more accessible. All right, so course description. We're going to talk about qualitative and quantitative perspectives on social research. The purpose and components of qualitative and quantitative research design, including the role of theory in research, sampling, reflexivity, the practice of mixed methods, data collection, analysis, and writing results. And it is offered in an online format. That's what you're experiencing. All right, so we got all the student learning outcomes, right? So by the end of the course, you will be able to apply key sociological concepts. You'll be able to compare, contrast, and critique major theoretical and epistemological orientations in sociology, including functionalism, conflict, interactionism, and feminism. Students will demonstrate critical thinking from various sociological perspectives, such as reflecting on their social location, evaluating the implicit assumptions of everyday life, challenging common sense understandings, and assessing the structure of an argument. Students will show clear and effective written and oral communication skills, which I'm sure you guys already got down, so you're good. You'll demonstrate your knowledge of qualitative and quantitative research design and methods and evaluate their appropriate use. You'll use sociological knowledge and skills to engage with local and global communities for the purpose of social justice. And you will demonstrate a critical understanding of power, privilege, and oppression across a range of cultures, human experiences, and the intersections of social locations, historical experience, including your own. All right, so that's a whole bunch of stuff. Basically, especially in a research methods class, I know that it can be a bit daunting, right, for students to take on if they haven't learned much about research methods so far, but it can be a very impactful, interesting course. It can give you the tools necessary to actually examine the social world, right? So there's overall university learning goals that really just focus on how you acquire knowledge, how you think critically and use those skills of, to be able to effectively complete the coursework in the class. All of these fun things, recognize your roles, blah, blah, blah. Okay, general education goals. So this is just what the university expects from any general education class, right? That basically you're learning a fundamental part of, general education through sociological coursework. All right, course policies. All right, so in this class, we don't meet face to face, but you are going to interact with each other in the, discussion board sense through that part of Titanium. So as a result, you're going to be posting things and you're going to be commenting on other people's posts. So it's important that you are respectful to other students about their experiences, because oftentimes when we're talking about our viewpoints, they come from our, situational standpoint. So that because of that, who we are, our background, our, all those kind of things that make you up in society, your race, your class, your gender, your sexuality, your ability, your age, where you live, all sorts of stuff, are going to affect the way that you see the world and the kind of experiences and, opportunities that you've had. So as a result, obviously, I want people to be able to disagree or debate or talk about topics or issues, but you need to do so in a respectful and scholarly way, so that you're able to comfortably talk about your experiences and your viewpoints, but of course, feel comfortable enough to debate certain things. But you can't necessarily tell someone like, oh, no, you didn't experience that, because you don't know what they experienced. You haven't lived in their life, right? You can only, the goal of these things is through engagement, through discussion board posts, we can actually learn from each other. And that's the goal of those things. All right, as far as makeup or late assignments, no. Sorry, that's my favorite part of the whole syllabus. No. If you tell me ahead of time or work things out or whatever, it's not a big deal. As far as the exams in the course, I open them up pretty early. You have like plenty of time for like over a week to complete them. But if there's any sort of issues with, you're not going to be in the area or you're not going to have Wi-Fi connection during a time period, then yes, we can try and work it out, right? Just tell me ahead of time. But if you've missed options to turn in assignments or missed options to take the exam, once that time is passed, there's really nothing I can do to rectify it, because the scores are already inputted, and if I change the settings, it causes all sorts of madness. So also I want to point out, I don't accept assignments via email. And I mean, obviously not in hard copy, because you guys are in an online class. I probably should have deleted that part. But anyway, I don't accept them in any way except for submitted through the portal on Titanium before the due date to get credit. All right, as far as enrollment and drops, you're an adult. You enrolled in the class. If you decide, I don't want to have to hear this lady's voice all semester, because yes, I am going to record audio lectures for you that you can listen to. Then yeah, you probably want to drop sooner than later, right? You want to make sure you get your money back. But because attendance is different in an online course, it's not necessarily that you're dropped because of, not showing up to class. So again, I don't know what your situation or life is, so I'm not going to necessarily drop based on, your input on class materials. So like, let's say you didn't do weekly assignment 1 and 2. That doesn't mean that I assume you're dropping. The only way I assume you're dropping is if you drop yourself, because that's, again, your autonomy as an adult person who is enrolled in the course. It's on you to drop if you choose to drop. Okay, let's see, blah, blah, blah. Etiquette technology. So again, we're all going to be posting stuff. We're going to be interacting in a virtual classroom. So as a result, we have to make sure that we're respectful to one another. You can obviously disagree with what people say, but you can't tell them, you can't disagree with the person themselves, if that makes sense. We don't want to kind of fall into the banality of what politics has become these days, where it's just like pointing fingers and calling names. We want to actually engage in, interesting debates. It kind of goes back to that idea that if you are kind of yelling at someone like, you're a bad person, or I don't think you understand, blah, blah, blah. That's not necessarily a good starting point for a discussion where you might actually sway someone's opinion, right? Like, think of a time in your life where you've been swayed by someone telling you that you are bad or wrong. No, never, right? Because you're like, well, this guy's a jerk. I'm not going to listen to what he has to say. So obviously, if you want to have constructive debates, you have to focus on the issues themselves or the topic or concepts themselves, and provide often alternate examples or scenarios in which you think that things would be different. So a lot of what we're talking about, though, of course, are specifically related to research methods, or sometimes even just to your own research project. So of course, in that way, it would be very disrespectful to just be like, your project seems dumb or something like that, right? You could still say like, I think there's a few weaknesses that need to be dealt with your project, but that's different than insulting a person, right? So again, as long as you're respectful, we can learn from each other. It can be a positive experience. All right, here's that thing I talked about before emailing me. If you have a question that can't be answered by the syllabus, I know I'm that guy now, but seriously, look at the damn syllabus, right? There's this whole large document with all sorts of crap on it that's specific to your class. So maybe look there first before you ask, right? That's just a little guideline in anything in life. But when you do email me, remember that I'm an adjunct, which means I work at 3 different campuses. I have 6 other classes than yours, 7 total. So as a result, I get a lot of email. I have several emails, actually. I have 4 staff emails. And as a result, I get a lot of admin emails per each one. So I try to go through and delete them all the time. It's a pain in my ass. But this makes it very easy for me to see that you've emailed me, right? Your course number, class time, your name, and issue to be addressed. You don't necessarily need the issue, but you definitely need the first 3. So that, number 1, I'm going to see that and make sure I don't delete it. And I'm going to respond to it as promptly as possible. Right? I think it's a pretty reasonable response time, right? When I say reasonably prompt response, that means like 48 to 72 hours. It's not that I don't read them always. It's just that sometimes when I'm reading them, I don't have an opportunity to respond. So I will respond to you. I will give you the materials or, deal with any of the issues that you're trying to bring to my attention. Not a problem. Please feel free to email me whenever. Just remember, I don't know, look at the syllabus first, see if the answer's there. Or, if you haven't responded, or if I haven't responded within 24 hours to your email, remember, I will respond. Again, 6 other classes, 3 campuses. It's very difficult to, basically give all time and attention to one course, right? So I do my best to make sure that I address them in a timely manner. So just be reasonable with me. I'm reasonable with you. That's why if you really need something, like, let's say there's an assignment coming up and you have a question about it, maybe don't email me an hour or 2 before it's due, because the likelihood of me having enough time to respond is not good, right? So maybe a day or 2 before something, just to give a reasonable amount of time. I'm a reasonable person, so are you. I don't have those kind of unrealistic expectations for you guys, so I just hope that you don't have them for me as well. Remember, you're always feel free to come into my in-person office hours in College Park, like I said before, 9th floor College Park, from 4 to 6 p.m. on Tuesdays. I'm there for all the classes, and then I have a specific online office hour through Zoom just for you guys, right? And all you have to do is have a laptop that has a camera in it, which I'm pretty sure is like every laptop nowadays, right? You download Zoom, takes like a couple minutes, and it's super easy. It's like Skyping with me, kind of, so that you can like ask me directly. What do you mean by this? Or, whatever your concern might be. And again, all that stuff's at the top of the syllabus. All right, academic dishonesty. Do not do it. It's kind of obvious when you're cheating. Actually, I had a student last semester in my writing course that I had to fail for the entire course because she heavily plagiarized her final paper. And of course I noticed because we notice, we're not idiots. And, for teaching research methods and writing and things of this nature for a while, I can easily sniff out plagiarism. Basically, when it comes to something like that, I had the choice to either give her an F for the assignment or the course, and I gave her an F for the course. The reason being that it's a writing course, and if you can't write the paper for the course, you kind of defeated the whole purpose of the course. So I am a reasonable person, but academic dishonesty is just foolish, right? Almost everything you need to do for the course is derived from your own personal effort. There's no reason to steal someone else's ideas or work, right? Also, fun fact that students seem to never know is that you can plagiarize yourself, right? Let me make this as clear as possible. You can plagiarize yourself. Let's say you did a different class last semester. Let's say you had writing last semester, and now you're like, I'm going to take the same crap I did for writing and turn that into my research project. Totally fine. There's like a lot of ways you could do that and overlap and it not be plagiarism. But the idea is that you should be creating a new project for this class, right? Because if you're just kind of like wiping the dust off of some old thing and slapping that in here as a new assignment, that's not fair to all the other people in the class who actually made a new assignment, and you're not actually learning through the steps that I'm providing for you so that what you will take away from the course is being able to really do this research, for any topic that you desire. So you actually have to go through the steps. So for that reason, I really stress, don't do it, don't try it. It's dumb. Almost everything in the class is so well provided for you. You will have no need to stress or strain or, kind of search outside for extraneous resources. I give you study guides for the exams. I give you audio reviews of the study guides, which basically no one in the history of ever does. So I take it seriously. And here's the problem with this. Other than the disciplinary sanctions, like I said, you could fail the course, but you could also be suspended from the university. And if you get suspended for plagiarism or any other academic dishonesty problem, cheating or something of that nature, you could get kicked out of school, and then getting back into school is pretty much impossible. Because once you have something like that on your transcripts, no one wants you. So just don't do it. It's stupid. And I will catch you. Anyway, if you have any sort of disability and you need any sort of accommodation, just let me know, and I will make that information or resources available to you right away. I also put on here the just emergency procedure stuff. I know that you guys aren't on campus, but if you are, or if you're planning to be, this is just good information to know to protect yourself. All right, and since this is an online class, obviously sometimes you might not get access to the internet. Like if you're like me and your Wi-Fi router is a bit spotty, right? Or AT&T does you wrong once in a while, as per what happens to me, then, obviously in those situations of technical issues, you have to contact your internet provider, your service provider, because there's not much we can do on our end. But if you're having technical problems with the campus portal or your email or Titanium, you can contact the Student IT Help Desk. So here's all the info listed here, right? Their phone number, the email, the actual link to their page, and their hours of operation, everything, because they are there as a resource for you. So if you have any of these issues, make sure that they help you restore any access problems that you have. And let me know if there's any particular issue that you're facing so that, in case that's going to affect your ability to turn in an assignment or something like that. All right, so course requirements. What are you actually doing in the class? All right, so first there are the weekly research practice short assignments. There's 13 weekly assignments, right? Turns out there's more than 13 weeks in the class, hint. But I front-loaded the assignments so that by the end of the course, when you're working on, your final stuff and you're studying for the final exam, you won't have to worry about doing those weekly assignments, right? Anyway, so there are 13 weekly assignments that are worth 10 points each, which total 130 points possible towards your overall grade. They vary between individual activities, quick summaries, quick write-ups, and methods analysis assignments. So you basically complete the assignment, you turn it in through the portal, all the information is there for you on the instructions, right? And basically the idea is that these like weekly assignments are pretty quick. They shouldn't take you too long. There's a couple that'll be a little bit longer than others, right? But some of them will really take you only a few minutes. And they're supposed to just review the info that we've covered or prepare you for certain parts of your assignments that are coming up, like constructing a survey or things like that we're going to be doing in the class. So they just kind of go along with the information that we're talking about in the book so that it's not so boring and abstract, because you're actually kind of understanding what it is through doing like mini exercise versions of it yourself. It's not like each week I'm like, do a full research project, because you would die. Like that's not possible. So this is just kind of like little mini assignments that'll help you reinforce your understanding of these issues. All right, so for participation, since we're not like meeting in person, all class interactions and discussion happen on Titanium. So participation is determined by the interaction on the discussion boards, which are typically follow-up questions to those weekly research practice short assignments. So each one of the participation things, when you have, because some of them you have to respond to another student, some of them you don't, right? So for the ones where you do have to respond to other students, you get 5 points for each time you do it, totaling up to 60 points possible towards your overall grade. So like I said, there's 13 weekly writing assignments, but there's only 10 follow-ups. So there are a couple weekly writing or weekly research assignments where you're going to be just turning in something, just submitting it and being done, versus actually having to do a follow-up, right? So all the instructions and dates are visible on Titanium, and that's pretty straightforward. And as far as like the rubric for the participation feedback, that is also listed on any of the discussion board posts. As far as exams, in this course, there's 2 exams. Each have a 50 multiple choice or true-false questions. So each exam is worth a potential of 100 points. And the way it works is they're not weighted any differently. You just have a midterm and a final, right? They're weighted the same. They're not cumulative. They only cover the information that happened right before that part, right? So the midterm focuses on the methods in the first half. The final focuses on methods in the second half. I'm not trying to murder you by making it cumulative. But I do, like I mentioned before, do something that helps you way more than pretty much everyone, which is that I will give you a detailed study guide that has exactly what's going to be on the exam, laid out by chapter, and then a audio review of that study guide, right? Where I will explain what I mean by, or what I'm looking for. So a lot of that is just pointing you at, if it's a literal definition from the textbook, it's going to be the verbiage of the definition from your textbook. But sometimes it might be like a certain pattern or thing or something I want you to focus on, in which case I'll point that out through the audio review. So I highly suggest you listen to that before you take the exams. And then as far as the when the exams take place, the date listed in the calendar of the syllabus will be the date for it to close, is that's when it's due. It will close before midnight on that date, right? But it'll open a week before so that you have plenty of time to take it. You don't have to take it on a specific day. You have like the entire week. But once it hits that day when it closes on a Sunday, if you haven't done it by 11:59 that night, it closes and you lose access, right? So we're not going to take them on campus. It's not like one of those classes where you have to come to the physical campus, so no worries on that. Okay, so you're going to write a proposal in this class. This is a big chunk of what you're doing. So you're going to compose a research proposal to prepare you to produce actual research. So the paper topic has to be sociological in origin, hint, obviously, with a testable research question. The paper will be submitted and graded in stages. So first you're going to submit an outline and research question assignment. And the whole reason I have you turn these things in stages is just so that I have enough time to give you feedback so that you don't go off the rails before you have a higher point scale value, right? So even if you completely bombed your outline and research question, which you wouldn't, and you only get a couple points, I can still point you in the right direction before you actually draft that larger research paper proposal. So you turn in your outline and research question assignment, and then you're going to do the actual full research paper proposal, which includes an introduction, a lit review, methods, conclusion, and future research section. So to complete the proposal, you're also going to need to draft a consent form for your proposed research study. Sounds super complicated, but it's not. Detailed instructions on the expectations for both of these stages are in an audio file that are available on Titanium, as well as the assignment sheets, right? So for the major assignments, not only is there an assignment sheet that explains it, but I'll also do an audio review of it as if we were in class, just as I would review that. So again, if you listen to those or if you read those things and you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And then oftentimes I'll kind of just send it as an announcement to the course, because sometimes if you have a question, so do others, right? So anyway, this is the breakdown for the points for this. And the idea is that your proposal is going to be the basis of what you develop a survey on, right? So moving on to the next part, there's the question construction assignment and the survey construction assignment. So basically, you're going to do this proposal where you kind of figure out like, hey, there's a social issue that I'm interested in researching, right? So the question part, pretty straightforward. You're just going to draft survey questions on demographics and questions that operationalize your research concepts into a measurable survey tool. If you're like, what the hell are you talking about? Don't worry, by then you will know what that means. So you're basically going to draft a minimum of 10 questions with their potential answers and submit them to me, right? So then I'm going to look at them, revise them, or sometimes maybe offer you potential other, maybe the potential answers should be expanded or things like that. And I'll give you that information back. But if you submit it to me and I'm like, yeah, it's good, then you literally just have to take the questions you already have and then input them into the survey on Qualtrics so that you can distribute the survey. Basically, this is just, we're going to talk about pre-test, post-test, and all that stuff later, but basically submitting them to me is like your mini pre-test, because I'm going to go over the questions, make sure they actually make sense to the way you're trying to operationalize your variables. And then if they're good to go, I'll let you do that. And then basically you're going to put them in Qualtrics, which sounds complicated, but is totally not if you've ever typed into something. And then you're going to distribute that to other students, right? So that's basically where it goes from question construction to survey construction. So you're not going to only learn how they work, but you're going to make your own. So this is a very important skill. So you're going to pick a topic and construct a valid and accurate survey tool that you're going to administer to other students in order to interpret the results. So you're also expected to write a report on your survey's results. Hint, super easy, not that hard. It's just a couple follow-up questions based on the data that you receive. Qualtrics, when you put the information in and then distribute the survey, does a lot of the tabulation and calculation for you so that you can just then, kind of talk about your findings based on that, right? So again, detailed assignment sheet and an audio explaining it, plus the grading rubric on how you'll be graded, all on Titanium, right? All right, and then lastly, I want you to be able to present this information to each other. Making a poster seems, again, kind of weird in an online format, but the idea is you're going to be making like an online one. But posters are a very valuable way for students to be able to share their research, especially at conferences or things of that nature. They're almost always looking for research competitions for students and things like that. If students have research posters, you will already have one that you can literally just blow up and print out and be good to go to a research conference, which, hint, if you're an AKD member, you can get funding for travel to do so. You should totally do that. And if you want any more info on that, ask me and I'll let you know. So anyway, the research paper poster presentation is really just, you make a nice looking Google presentation doc that, or slide that has a layout of your overall research, but, represented in a visual way, right? So you're going to still give us some information on, the important stuff, right? What was your research question? What were the main points of your lit review? What was your proposed methods? Those kind of things. And I'm going to not just give you, I have the instructions up there, all that explanation up there on Titanium, but also I'm going to give you sample ones from the past that other students have done, just to give you an idea of like what an A is. And I want to stress, with any sample I give in any class really I teach, but with this class specifically, none of them are perfect, because no paper that was submitted is ever really perfect. So I don't expect you to mirror what they did or try to construct yours based on theirs. It's really just to give you an idea of what an A looks like. And as you'll see when you look at the examples, they vary dramatically, because think about it. Your paper is going to be very different than someone else's paper, or your poster is going to be very different from someone else's poster when your topic was very different, right? So anyway, this stuff will make sense later. All right, so here's a breakdown of the points for the course, so you can see how that's all laid out. So you see that even though these assignments are very, relatively short, relatively painless per week, they are going to add up to a lot of points over time, right? So if you're not that great of a test taker and you're concerned about that, you can focus more on these other issues and kind of get those points otherwise, right? Okay, so here is the grading scale for the course. The campus is a plus or minus situation. So I often get that question of rounding, only because, unless you're in third grade or second or third grade, you're not rounding. It's just not a real thing. So I did get like one of those Ray, my professor comments of like, she's a monster. she won't round your 89%. And the reason is because there's no such thing as rounding in this situation. Because for it to be rounding, the grade would have to be based on percent, not points, if that makes sense. So let's say you're trying to get that A, right? And an A is 465 points, right? And you haven't gotten to that threshold. You have 455 points. So you have a 90%, not a 93%. So you're going to get an A minus. And you're like, can you just round me up? I'm so close. I'm at a 91%. Yeah, but the problem is it's not about percent. Because to give you the 465 points you would need, that's an additional 10 points. It wouldn't be fair to just randomly hand out 10 points because someone complained about it or because someone feels like they want that. And I'm not one of those people that wants to play favorites or do any of that stuff either, because that's awful. So that's why I grade in a blind grading way. I don't look at your names until I'm completed with grading things. And also, my course is based on point values, not percentage. So it doesn't matter if you got a 90%, it matters if you got 450 points to get an A minus. It doesn't matter if you got 93%, it matters that you got 465 points. Hopefully that makes sense. So you have to pay attention to your total points because that's how you get your grade. Your percentage is irrelevant, so rounding it makes no sense because basically students that are asking for you to round are just asking you to give them points that they did not earn. All right, so performance criteria. Turning in something doesn't mean that it's magically perfect, right? Turning in an assignment that meets the expectations is not an A, that's technically a C, right? So I provided grading rubrics for most assignments so that you have a complete understanding of exactly what I'm looking for, and you can tailor your submission to the requirements in order to get the best grade possible. I'm not one of those people that doesn't give 100% or grades so harshly that's, unreasonable that no one can get an A. But I do give you everything you need to prepare yourself to get the best possible grade. But I'm also not handing out points just, it's not a participation trophy situation. You're getting them based on the actual distinct level of effort that you put into your assignment, right? So that's why it says here, a C is meeting the standards, right? Representing satisfactory average performance, blah, 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 versus an A is representing high level of effort, outstanding performance, excellence, and mastery of course concepts, etc. So yeah, just keep those things in mind when you're looking at how, you want to submit your assignments. Remember, I'm giving you opportunities at the grading rubrics to see exactly how the point scale works out so that you can maximize focus on the points that are actually going to help you out. All right, course calendar. Okay, so basically this is the reading schedule as laid out, right? I'm not planning on being ill or canceling any sort of things of any kind. Actually, I was pretty sick last semester. Totally still kept to my online schedule because I'm an idiot. Turns out you don't get paid for it when you take the physical ones off. So I'm an idiot. So if I ever get sick, that might be the case. That doesn't mean that your reading or any other issues are void, right? It just means that this is the schedule that you would be following no matter what. So the way it's broken down is you have what week it is, your reading schedule, and then the assignments, right? So within the reading schedule, you have the chapter, the textbook, and the title of that chapter. So for week 1, the expectation is read chapter 1 of The Process of Social Research and read chapter 1 of Give Methods a Chance. And like I mentioned before, with every Give Methods a Chance reading, there is a podcast that goes along with it, which is posted on Titanium, but using the acronym GMAC for Give Methods a Chance. And so all of them are there. You just have to click on the link and listen to them. They're pretty interesting, and they really do expand much farther past the kind of dry, boring stuff that we're talking about in the textbook to how do people actually use these in life and what kind of interesting research can be done using these methods. So, they kind of go hand in hand. So then you have your, that's your reading expectations for the week, and then your weekly research assignments, right? Right here you have the due date of everything. It's usually due the Sunday before the next week, right? So all of them are specifically there. And then for any of these like larger assignments, they're often put in bold just to remind you that they're happening. So, you got the midterm, like week 9, you got plenty of time till that happens. The proposal comes on the heels of that. Then you're going to have your questions you turn into me. Then right after the break, the actual paper, which is, between here and here, you turn in the questions, you get your feedback. You distribute the questions, and then write up your paper, which, hint, the write-up part is like so super easy. And then if you notice, you get to here, there's no more weekly assignments, right? You get towards the end, you're just focusing on this last stuff, right? You're not really focusing on that. That way you have plenty of time to study for the final, which I will open early. I'll pretty much open it on week 15, so you have, time. Or if you're like a normal human person, you want to just be done by then, because don't we all by week 15, or really by week 14 or 13. So that'll be open as an opportunity for you, so that you can kind of knock that out and not have to do it like a couple of days before Christmas. But you do have that entire week as an option, right? Because I know that you have other classes and schedules and things going on. So like I said, this is all laid out for you. If there's any changes that have to happen, I'll let you know well ahead of time, or if I maybe like waive one of the weekly assignments or something like that, I'll let you know. Or if there's extra credit opportunities or things like that for something you could do, I'll definitely make you aware of that. Otherwise, for all of the Give Methods a Chance, there are podcasts that you should be listening to as well. And the weekly research assignments themselves, there is an assignment sheet that explains how they generally work. But if you click on the link for each weekly assignment, it's going to explain within the discussion board post exactly what's needed for that, or within the file uploaded to that weekly assignment. So that way it's pretty straightforward. Hopefully this has been helpful. If you have any additional questions after listening to this, feel free to contact me. Otherwise, welcome to the class. I look forward to seeing all the interesting stuff that you guys come up with as far as your research.